on Goblin Reddit. Today's story is...
My husband left me penniless after I quit my job, but my mother-in-law's secret will revealed her 4-year plan that changed everything. Hi, I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I really need help to determine if I'm being a terrible person. Normally, I would talk to my family or friends, but I feel too ashamed to contact them right now. I'll explain why later. For now, I just want you to know that I have no one to talk to at the moment, so any advice would be very valuable. Last week, I made the decision to leave my husband, Dave, 34. We had been dating for 2 years and then married for 4. I had very valid reasons for ending the marriage. Over the last year, Dave had been subjecting me to financial and emotional abuse. After convincing me to leave my job, he assumed complete control over our finances. You are probably wondering how he managed to get me to leave my job. To understand, I will need to give you some background. My mother-in-law, 66-year-old Samantha, was suddenly diagnosed with a terminal illness. I prefer not to specify what it was. The important thing is that in just 2 months, she was completely paralyzed and confined to bed. Samantha had an irrational fear of doctors and hospitals, which is why she didn't seek medical attention for her health problems until it was too late. By the time her children finally convinced her to see a doctor, we discovered that her illness had progressed to a critical point. Perhaps if she had consulted earlier, she could have had a few more years of life. The diagnosis and prognosis were devastating for the whole family. My husband was devastated, as were my brother-in-law Matt, 30, and my sister-in-law Bianca, 25. They all found it very difficult to accept the diagnosis and the fact that Samantha would not be with us for much longer. Samantha's health deteriorated rapidly, and after she became totally paralyzed, she could no longer live alone. That's when Dave stepped in and offered to look after her. As she could no longer be left alone, she was told she could come and live with us. I had no problem with this because I really loved my mother-in-law, but I felt quite upset because he made this decision without consulting me first. When we finally had the opportunity to talk about it, Dave explained that he was scared and overwhelmed, so he acted impulsively. He acknowledged that he should have consulted me and apologized for not doing so. Then came the unexpected. He told me he wanted me to look after Samantha full-time. I was taken aback because it was a huge responsibility. Dave began to explain passionately how he didn't want his mother to spend her last days in a hospital or hospice. He wanted Samantha to be surrounded by family during her final moments. He also reminded me of Samantha's intense fear of doctors and nurses, so he understood her position. I could see that my husband was completely depressed by the situation and desperately needed my support, but caring for Samantha would mean giving up my job. I know I will be criticized for this, but I ended up agreeing to what Dave wanted. He argued that I should leave my job because he earned significantly more than I did. For that reason, I was the one who should resign and stay at home. We couldn't hire help for Samantha because of his paranoia, so I took full responsibility for her care. At first, everything went well, and in fact, I enjoyed being at home. Samantha had always treated me like a daughter, so I didn't mind being with her all the time. She is a very sweet lady and doesn't cause any problems. She was happy to live with her son and daughter-in-law in her final days. Bianca and Matt would occasionally come to visit, but they couldn't stay long because of their jobs. They contributed to the care and paid most of her medical bills. Meanwhile, I took care of Samantha's daily care, including taking her to the hospital for checkups and treatments. This was a big challenge considering her extreme fear of hospitals. As I mentioned before, I didn't mind doing it because I really loved her. The problem started when Dave began to change after I left my job. He suddenly became obsessed with saving money and slowly began to limit my expenses. As we had joint accounts, I could see all the transactions he made. I want to make it clear that I'm not a shopaholic or anything like that, but I like to treat myself occasionally to little luxuries like takeaways or modest purchases. I had my own money, but Dave didn't see it that way. He would constantly argue with me about my spending and tell me that I needed to stop buying things for myself as I was no longer earning an income. That hurt, but what really got to me was when he took all our money out of the joint account and transferred it to his personal account. I really should have left at that point. The problem was that I was mentally exhausted from taking care of Samantha and also from the constant arguments with my husband about money. all my savings were in that joint account, so I literally ran out of money. After numerous arguments, my husband decided that he would only give me a monthly allowance and nothing more. His argument was that as he was the breadwinner, he would have full control over our finances. At first, I resigned myself to this new system because I felt I had no alternative. But Dave took full advantage of the situation. He started by giving me $1,000 a month for personal expenses, while he paid all the bills and utilities. I was surprised that he considered such a small allowance appropriate, when we had a considerable amount of money in the old joint account. But no amount of arguing made Dave change his stance. Over time, he reduced the monthly allowance by $100 each month, until he ended up giving me only $100 as an allowance. By that time, a year had passed, and I was experiencing burnout as Samantha's caregiver. I didn't have the energy to argue with my husband while devoting all my attention to Samantha. I wasn't going to abandon her when I was so attached to Dave, so I just shut up and stayed. I finally left my husband 2 days after Samantha's funeral. This is where the dilemma arises. Before leaving the house, I made sure to take Samantha's will with me. Why did I do that? Because I strongly suspected that Dave had been lying about the inheritance. Dave had told Bianca and Matt that Samantha had left everything to him and him alone. As he was the executor of the will, only he knew what it said. Bianca and Matt had taken his word for it, but I wasn't so convinced. I didn't trust my husband anymore. I knew for sure that Samantha hadn't left everything to Dave alone, so I looked for the will before I left. I found it and discovered that Samantha had left part of her estate to Bianca and Matt. Most surprisingly, she had also included me in her will. I can't say exactly how much money I am entitled to, but I do know that I should receive a certain amount of her estate and some of her jewelry. I didn't know anything about this previously because my husband never revealed this information to me or to his siblings. He had been planning to keep everything for himself and share nothing. He already had total control over our finances, so it wouldn't have been difficult for him to appropriate my inheritance without my knowledge. After I left, Dave started bombarding my phone with messages and calls. He was furious with me for leaving him and simply couldn't understand why I wanted to get away from him. When I reminded him about his financial abuse, he started calling me a gold digger, among other insults. That's when I laughed at him and told him that he was the one who was really obsessed with money, because he was the one who had stolen everyone's inheritance. Dave had no idea what I had done, but now he knows. Since then, he has been harassing me relentlessly. His messages range from begging me not to expose him to getting angry and calling me a greedy gold digger. He keeps telling me that I have no right to get involved in his family's affairs, and that I don't deserve to receive a penny of his mother's estate, especially since I'm leaving him. I thought I was right, but now I'm questioning myself. He's kind of right that this is a family matter, and maybe I shouldn't get involved. There's also the fact that I'm not entitled to a share of Samantha's inheritance, since I'm not her daughter, but she wanted me to have something, and I think it's unfair how Dave is taking advantage of everyone. What do you think about it? Am I the one who's acting wrongly? Addition, some of you have been asking why Bianca and Matt didn't investigate the will situation or press for more information. I can't say for sure how Dave convinced them that Samantha hadn't left them anything. However, I do have a theory. Dave was always the favorite son in his mother's eyes because he was extremely attached to her. It was clear that Dave refused to become completely independent of his mother and tried to stay as close to her as possible. Although Samantha was not a terrible mother or mother-in-law, she showed signs of being overly affectionate with Dave. Dave was the son who did not move away and did not become completely independent. I guess she was grateful for that. Bianca and Matt were not happy with this favoritism, and it hurt them a lot. That's why they quickly believed that Samantha had left them nothing. Their anger stemmed from feeling betrayed, and what Dave said basically made them believe that Samantha didn't really care about them. As I mentioned, they have very demanding jobs, and they really can't afford to waste time confronting their brother over a will. They firmly believed that their mother had betrayed and disappointed them. It saddens me to know that Samantha had tried to be fair to everyone before she died, but she still ended up being seen as the villain. She really shouldn't have appointed Dave as executor of her will, but it made sense that she did. After all, she trusted Dave completely. Many of you have criticized me for staying with Dave for so long. I don't know what to say to you. Have you heard of the boiled frog syndrome? It was something like that. Dave tightened the reins very slowly. He didn't do it all at once. I never imagined he could be so manipulative and cruel. By the time he began to completely control the finances, I felt I had no options. I couldn't just go to the police to complain about the money he withdrew from our joint account. His name was on the account, so he had every right to withdraw the money. I am well aware that it was a mistake to put all my savings in a joint account. I was naive and didn't know any better. Like Samantha, I trusted my husband too much. I now understand how much I had complicated things for myself. Believe me, I am ashamed of having tried to endure the situation, hoping that things would improve. I should have opened my eyes earlier and left that marriage. I am trying to correct my mistakes, so please be understanding. Update 1. Wow, this post had a lot more impact than I expected. I received so many comments that my post was temporarily blocked. That's why I couldn't reply to your comments. I apologize for that. I received an overwhelming amount of support, and also some constructive criticism in my last post. I can assure you that your words really got through to me. I received your messages loud and clear. I did nothing wrong, and I should definitely claim what is rightfully mine, and that is exactly what I am going to do. I haven't blocked my husband, and I have allowed him to fill my inbox with his absurd messages. Don't worry, I'm not responding to his demands or pleas. I'm just saving everything as evidence in case I need it in the future. I had briefly considered the idea of asking Dave for money in exchange for the will, but that would make me as despicable as he is. I can't hire a lawyer because, well, I don't have any money. I've barely managed to save $500, which won't even be enough to get me through until my next paycheck. There have been many comments asking why I didn't reach out to my friends and family after leaving Dave. Well, I'm ashamed to admit that I distanced myself from them a long time ago. My family were not enthusiastic about my leaving my job to become Samantha's carer. They reinforced their opposition when they found out about the allowance arrangement Dave had implemented. Most of my friends started insisting that I leave the marriage at that point, but I was too stubborn to listen to their advice. Even after everything they said to me, I still loved Dave and justified his behavior. I kept telling them that he was just overwhelmed and had made some bad choices. I really want to hit my head for being so naive. I defended my husband and didn't believe my friends and family when they warned me that he was becoming financially abusive. They kept pressuring me to do something about it, so I started to block them and distance myself from them one by one. I am deeply ashamed of what I did. They only wanted the best for me, and they knew what was coming, but I trusted my husband so much that I pushed away the people closest to me. They tried to reach out to me after that, but I didn't have the time or energy to talk or hang out with them. I was completely overwhelmed while taking care of Samantha and running the household. Dave wouldn't even hire a housekeeper or cook, and he called me lazy when I suggested it. I can't begin to tell you how many nights I cried myself to sleep while sleeping next to my mother-in-law. By the time Samantha passed away, Dave and I weren't even sharing the same bed. Yes, things were really bad. I don't know if I should have done things differently. I definitely wouldn't have abandoned Samantha, but maybe it would have been better for me if I had left earlier. I was so incredibly naive. And you are not the first ones to point it out to me. My family and friends have been trying to make me see it for months, but I started to get annoyed with them. Now I'm alone with no one on my side. I know my husband wants me to come home, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't love me anymore. Even if he does love me, that doesn't justify his abuse. I really need help or some kind of support, so I need to talk to my family and friends again. Your comments have given me the courage to do it. I'm going to call my mom tomorrow morning. It's going to be uncomfortable and humiliating for me, but I guess I deserve that for not listening to them. I'm tempted to call her right now, but it's almost 2 a.m. here, so it wouldn't be very wise. Wish me luck for tomorrow because I'm going to need it. Update 2. I did it, folks. I called my family and I was completely honest with them. I had blocked them because they kept telling me to stay away from Dave, but yesterday I unblocked them and made the call that I had been dreading for so long. I expected my parents to be cold and offended with me. I deserved nothing but their anger, but my family is wonderful. My mother answered my call immediately and sounded tremendously relieved when I spoke to her. She didn't even ask me about Dave or the situation. She just wanted to know if I was okay. She told me that she and my father had been worried about me as I hadn't contacted them for a long time. They knew I had blocked their numbers and didn't insist anymore because they understood that I needed space. In reality, it was more like I demanded distance from them. They thought that pushing my limits too much would make me angrier with them, so they respected my decision not to look for me. Just hearing how much my parents loved and respected me broke me down completely. I had an emotional breakdown while I was telling them the whole story in detail over the phone. It wasn't an easy conversation, and I couldn't control my emotions. I was crying my eyes out as I explained what had happened. When I finished, my parents consoled me as best they could. My dad immediately told me that I needed to open a new bank account so he could send me money. They live quite far away, but they decided to come and see me as soon as possible. They weren't angry with me at all. They didn't accuse me of abandoning them. They simply listened and started planning how they could get there as soon as possible. My father hung up to book flights while my mother stayed on the line until I stopped crying and regained control of my emotions. She gently scolded me for hesitating to reach out and assured me that no matter what, they would always be there for me. After another small moment of crying, I finally hung up the phone with my mom too. I felt much lighter after making the call. Knowing that my parents didn't hate me filled me with joy and relief. Then something happened that I absolutely did not expect. About an hour after hanging up with my mom, my phone started flooding with text messages and voicemails. At first, I thought it was Dave, who really hadn't stopped harassing me. But when I opened those messages, I saw that my siblings, cousins, and friends had written to me. I had unlocked everyone when I unlocked my parents. I expected their messages to be full of recriminations, but once again, they proved me wrong. They all sent me messages expressing that they knew what had happened and wanted me to contact them when I felt comfortable. They wrote really encouraging things and assured me that no one was angry with me. They were just very concerned for my well-being. My best friend literally told me she had booked flights and asked what hotel I was staying in. I guess my mom had called them all and given them updates. I felt extremely grateful to know that none of them held any ill will towards me. I couldn't update yesterday because I was busy calling everyone who had left me messages. I owed them an explanation and an apology before doing anything else. I have received some angry private messages about my last update because I didn't mention contacting Bianca and Matt. Some of you really assumed that I wouldn't inform you about your rightful inheritance. I've already told you that I've had a rethink, and I know the right thing to do. I just needed some time to stabilize my own situation before trying to talk to them. Last night, between calls, I left them messages asking them to call me back as soon as possible. They are extremely busy, so they may not be available until the weekend. I guess I can wait another 3 days, but I did tell them it was urgent. I'm waiting for them to schedule a video conference, as I suggested in my messages. Hopefully they'll organize something soon and we can talk about this inheritance problem before Dave does something reckless again. He doesn't know what hotel I'm in, so that's a relief. I was a little worried about the hotel bills, but Dad sent me money after I opened a bank account today. My brothers also sent me something, probably after getting my bank details from Dad. I'm so lucky to have them in my life. I'll never be so foolish as to distance myself from them again. I've learned my lesson, so that's all I have to share for now. I'll be back with an update when something relevant happens. Update 3. Hi everyone. I wasn't expecting to be back with an update so soon. I had anticipated that Bianca and Matt wouldn't be available for 3 days, but they arranged a video call just 1 day later. Apparently Dave had called them both and asked them some suspicious questions about me. I guess he was trying to find out if I had contacted them. His behavior really set off some alarm bells, so Bianca and Matt called me as soon as they could because they were worried about what was happening. I was touched to know that even they cared enough to be concerned about me. I wasted no time in telling them what had happened. I explained how Dave had been lying about Samantha's will and how he was harassing me to keep me from revealing the truth to them. They were really angry with Dave and expressed their frustration in very strong words. Then they asked me why I had left and what was going on. I didn't hide anything from them and told them how Dave had been abusing me for the last year. They were shocked to hear the whole story, and then they started to get even more angry. Bianca then asked me if we had hired a cook and a domestic servant to take care of Samantha. I told them that Dave hadn't allowed it, as he considered it a waste of money. I told them how I had taken care of everything related to Samantha until the end. It was then that Bianca and Matt revealed something to me that left me completely stunned. Dave had also been lying to them about other things. He had told them that we had a professional carer for Samantha and even a cook who prepared her special meals. Apparently, Bianca and Matt had been giving Dave money to pay this non-existent cook and carer. They had no idea that I was the one who did absolutely everything. Samantha had been unable to feed herself for the last 3 months of her life. She had to be fed, and all her food was specially prepared for her. Bianca and Matt were told that we had hired someone to do this, as it was too much work for me alone, but Dave had been deceiving them. Samantha didn't have the energy to talk for long, so she never asked about these services. They had been conned by my unscrupulous husband into paying for services that never existed. I don't know what happened to me, but I immediately felt an immense rage. I also expressed my indignation against my husband, and the three of us had a moment of relief sharing our frustration. When we calmed down a bit, we all decided that we would confront Dave and sue him for the inheritance if he didn't hand it over voluntarily. I already have funds for lawyers, while Bianca and Matt have sufficient resources to not need additional money. So we are looking for legal representation to fight for us. Bianca actually knows several lawyers because of her profession, so she is going to make the arrangements for the three of us. She also recommended a divorce lawyer in my city, who would give me a good discount with her referral. I have already scheduled an appointment with my new divorce lawyer and will file the lawsuit very soon. I haven't received any angry calls from Dave yet, so I guess Bianca and Matt haven't confronted him yet. I know for sure that he will react explosively once he finds out about the situation, so I'm on my guard. Fortunately, my parents will arrive tomorrow, so I feel a little safer. My best friend is already here and is staying in my hotel room. I'll be back with more news when there is progress. Update 4. Hi everyone, it's been a while since my last update. Before you criticize me in the comments, let me sincerely apologize for not updating sooner. I know it's been 7 months, but I've been really busy with my life. The most perceptive among you will have guessed that things got really complicated when Dave found out that I had spoken to his brothers. I missed telling you about the lawsuit, the divorce, and some other interesting situations. I really didn't have the time or the mental capacity to do an update. Last night, my best friend was joking about my post on Reddit, and that's when I remembered that I had forgotten to do an update here. This will be my final update, so I'll tell you everything briefly. After my last update, I filed for divorce and consulted with a lawyer about the inheritance lawsuit. I coordinated with Bianca and Matt so that the three of us could confront Dave with 3 lawsuits in a single day. We wanted to overwhelm him and leave him little room to think. He didn't deserve peace or cooperation from us. As expected, Dave was completely upset after receiving 3 lawsuits and a divorce petition simultaneously. He started leaving me the most unpleasant messages and voicemails, which I kept as evidence for the court. Somehow he found out where I was staying and showed up at the hotel to confront me. Fortunately, the hotel did not give him my room number, and they kicked him out when he started yelling at the receptionist. Dave did his best to get in touch with me, but after a week he realized that I was in serious trouble. Now, this part might be a bit anticlimactic for you, because Dave finally agreed to meet with the lawyers and reach an out-of-court settlement. He met with me, Bianca, and Matt together. During this meeting, Dave finally revealed why he had been scamming his siblings and controlling me financially. Well, some of you have guessed it. He had developed a gambling addiction, he lost all our savings, but he just couldn't stop. He had very little money left, even after appropriating our inheritance. This man, who apparently loved his mother so much, had actually gone as far as pawning her jewelry to support his addiction. We literally couldn't believe what he was saying. He wasn't lying because his lawyer confirmed everything. I am still extremely upset by his actions. Dave seemed remorseful and begged the 3 of us to forgive him. He was crying as he begged me not to divorce him. I admit that I just laughed and told him there was no way I would ever take him back. I won't go into detail about how he desperately tried to change my mind over the last few months. The divorce went through, and I am in the process of getting back all of my inheritance. Our lawyers set up a payment plan, and Dave is complying to avoid going to court. He had to sell his house and his car to make the payments. He is now miserable and financially ruined, and occasionally he still begs me to take him back. As for me, I have moved to the city where my parents live to start over. I have nothing to tie me to my former home, so I moved and found a place near them. I have also got a good job here and am happy to be employed again. Life is really smiling on me at the moment, and I am hopeful that the future will be much brighter than my past. For now, I feel happy and satisfied to be close to my parents and reconnect with all the important people in my life.